Hey Clarinets, it's Mr. Hart here. Hope you guys are doing well. I thought I would make a special video just for you to check up on you and see how you're doing and to give you an opportunity just to do some clarinet one-on-one with Mr. Hart. So we're going to do just a very quick warm-up. Hopefully you've already played before watching this video. If you haven't, go on and pause and think about doing some playing just to kind of get yourself warmed up a little bit. We are going to play a couple warm-ups together, and I'm going to talk about some things to remind you about. But then we're really going to spend some time working on going from little keys to lots of keys. We started talking about that right before spring break. So feel free to use this video multiple times. I encourage it. And I want you to fast forward to the part where we start working on that stuff after you've done a good warm up. But we're going to do a warm up together. So first thing I want to remind you about are your 3 ups. Remember that we think about pushing up on the reed with good pressure. Our second up is thinking about keeping our tongue arch up, especially when we start playing really, really high, which we're going to do a little later. You need to be thinking about E rather than oo, okay? And then our third up is to think about pushing up with the air. So we've got up, up, and up. So I want you to think about all 3 of those things. Now, if you'll open your book to page 80, or sorry, line 86, and we're going to do this warm up together. Let me turn on my metronome and we'll get started. Okay, let's take this at a nice, comfortable 88 beats a minute. So this is line 86. Follow along. Steady stream of air, 2 count breath. And 1, 2. Great job. Now we're going to move on to line 87. Again, we're just playing a couple lines to get ourselves going. Do some rhythm builder. I'll try this at 120 because why not? Here we go. And 1, 2. Good. We're actually going to stop right there, and we're going to speed it up because I know you guys like to go fast. We'll try it at 152. Now let's go, 152. Could be quite a bit faster. Don't forget those B flats. Here we go. And 1, 2, 1, 2. Wonderful job. Now, keep your book open. And we're going to be actually looking at line 88 in a little bit, but we're going to come back to it because I want to talk with you about what we started talking about before spring break, which was moving our hands from a lot of keys to hardly any keys and vice versa. So I'm actually going to switch over. I'm using Zoom right now, and I'm going to screen share so that you can see the things that I see on my screen. And I want you to play along with this exercise with me. And I want you to really think about what kind of air it takes to play on lower notes. Remember we talked about to play high notes, you really got to fill up the bottom part of your clarinet, okay? So if you think of like we used to start on low G and low F, and if you don't remember, you look up on your fingering chart because I think my mirror is reversed here, or my camera. But you want to make sure you're filling it up with a nice big quality and quantity of air, okay? So if I were to play a low F, I'm putting a lot of air in my clarinet because later when I start to go high, I need to use that same kind of air with just a little bit more of a tongue arch, thinking E, and it's going to make my high register sound really good. Okay, a couple of things. We're going to be doing number 5 here, and a couple of things I want you to think about are the thumb is the first thing. Okay, so on my thumb key, remember we talked about this before spring break, that you want to make sure that your thumb is always touching right there on your register key or your power button, okay? And we want to make sure that it's always touching so that when we use it, you don't have a whole lot of motion going on, okay? It's just a barely small little flip. The thumb is still covering that back thumb hole, which is so, so important, okay, guys? Make sure you cover the thumb hole. So we're going to start off with number 5, and I'm going to turn my metronome on, and I want us to think about going slow, okay? And if you'll look at all the words on the top line of number 5, it says going up, okay? Obviously, we're going to go from low to high. We're only going to do 2 beats of rest in between each one of these. Thinking about a flat chin, okay? We've talked about pushing up from the bottom, okay? So we already know we got to keep a flat chin. Now, when you see the word anchor here on the right, they're talking about thinking about putting a lot of air on that low note, okay? Anchor down on the low note and use it as kind of a springboard to push up to the high note. So support that low note with a full body air. And then we're gonna push the power button or the register key. Keep everything the same except for raising the tongue arch up to an E, and your note should come out fine, okay? So if you want to use this to go back and forth, I play, you totally can do that. Or you can play along with me. But we're going to turn our metronome down to about 72 beats a minute. And I want you to focus on just filling up the clarinet. Okay, so this is number 5, starting on low A. And 1, 2. Good. And we're actually going to do that one more time, because I want you to just have more reps at practicing this. But your goal is to do this every day in your warm-up, okay? We want to make sure that this is kind of like a vitamin, or it's really kind of like deodorant. Hopefully you're wearing deodorant. If you're not, go get deodorant. Ask your mother or father. But in all seriousness, if you don't put deodorant on for 3 days straight, are you going to stink? You're going to smell bad, right? So if you only play with the power button once every 3 days, are you going to stink it using the power button? Yes, you are. It's just like deodorant. You have to put it on every single day, okay? Personal hygiene, personal clarinet hygiene is going over these register studies, okay? So let's do it again, and I want you to try and use more air on the bottom note. Here we go. 1, 2. Cool. Now, we're going to look at number 6, going down, okay? So what we're doing with number 6 is with our right hand, we're adding fingers. Remember, we have low A to low G to low F using the right pinky to low E, you've got your right and left pinky, okay? Again, if you need to, reference your fingering chart, make sure you're playing the right notes, okay? Let's talk about the words on this one. 2 beats of rest, pad the finger. Think about what that means. Patting the finger makes you think about your Cheerios and your Fruit Loops, right? You want to make sure you're covering those tone holes, especially as you start getting down past G and we start adding F and we start adding these pinky keys. You want to make sure that this third finger and the second finger are getting nice Cheerios. I don't know if you can see mine right now. And we want to make sure that we're keeping our head up, pushing that air forward, and thinking about tongue arch, okay? So let's do number 6 together. 1, 2, number 6. Great job. You need to go over these exercises every single day, and you will be a rock star at playing these higher notes, okay? Just think about all the things that I talked with you about every time you go to play. Cool. Now, I want to show you another little piece of music here. And that's our baby registers, okay? So we're just learning how to go over through our register key. And I only want you to go to this one when you feel like you're ready. If you don't feel like that you're ready to move on to this for a couple of weeks, that's okay. Take your time and do it right. But if you feel like you're just really doing a great job, send me a video, let me see it, and we can move on to this one. But I'm gonna go on and show you how this works so you can start practicing on your own. So notice we have a slur, no tongue between these two notes, but then we tongue up here. When you tongue on these higher notes, you really need to think about keeping that tongue arch in an E position, like a cat that got really mad because you poured water all over it, right? We talk about that in class sometimes. So you really got to think about keeping that tongue arch up, pushing that air forward, and you're going to be great, okay? So we're going to try this one together, just as a reference, and then we'll move on. Baby registers, starting on C. 1, 2. So you see, I messed up. I kind of had a slip on my thumb hole there. It slipped off. And we're going to do those last 2 measures again together for Mr. Hart, but also for a good practice for you to make sure you're working on that high C, okay? Let's try one more time on those last 2 measures. And 1, 2. Good. So I'm going to work on that. How about you work on it too, okay? But if you can achieve those last 2 measures, you're doing a really great job, okay? So now we're going to do one more thing before I let you go. And we're going to go back to line 88. And we're going to do it the first time as written, just like we did before spring break. And then we're going to use the register key on the second time. And I want you to think about playing with the same kind of air and then lifting that tongue arch, pushing the air forward on the repeat. Let's try this at 90 beats a minute. Here we go. Line 88. 1, 2. Great job, clarinets. Now, one more thing before we go is I just want to talk with you again about how important this stuff is that you do it every single day, okay? Work on your register studies. And for those of you that turned in a permission slip for our national boards, and we did that video before spring break, we're going to be making another one in a couple of weeks. via this, okay? We're going to use Zoom, and we're going to get on there together, and we're going to work through some of this stuff. So I want you to practice it every day and make as much improvement as you can every day that you work on your register studies, okay? Stay tuned. Later this week, I'm going to, maybe even tomorrow if I can get it, but I'm going to be making some fingering studies that I want you to go through to work on your finger dexterity. And I'll be sending that out to you in probably a PDF so you could print it off and use it on your own music stand, or you could just look at it on your computer or your iPad or whatever you've got, okay? Until then, I miss you, clarinetties. I will talk at you later. Happy practicing this week.